Good morning, Kent Jensen with Kent Coach here. Just wanted to take a second and say that I'm thankful for my family, my friends, for the people around me, for the opportunities I have, for the things that I have in my life that without them would be very difficult. Now, that being said, I was speaking with somebody this week and they asked what I did, and I told them I do emotional intelligence training for leaders. I help business leaders become more emotionally intelligent and help their businesses become more profitable as a result of their leadership changes. Now, he responded with a very common thought, something that a lot of people think. And he said, leadership, you're either born with it or you're not. Now, a lot of skills, there are things that come more natural to some people and for others are more difficult. That doesn't mean that you can't put effort and change those skills and develop those skills. And leadership is the same thing. You can put effort into becoming a better leader. So I wanted to go over today what exactly are those steps in becoming a better leader. Now, the first step, believe it or not, in leadership development is personal development. Now, you cannot develop others and help others grow without first growing yourself. You have to know what it takes to grow as a person. And the only way you can do that is by being intentional about your personal development. Now, what I'm going to go over is how to be intentional about personal development. I'm going to list 5 steps that are very important in creating a personal development plan. Now, the first step is what's called identifying your ideal self. Who is it that you want to become? What is it that you want to be? What are your most important values? What are the most important core drives that you have? Identify those. Identify who you want to be, put it on paper, write it out. The more articulate, the better. Now, again, this isn't something that is who you are currently. It's who you want to become. The truth of the matter is, if we're not working towards growing, we're not going to grow. We cannot maintain who we are. We're going to follow a slippery slope that will lead towards dissonance and eventually unhappiness and eventually grave life consequences, okay, divorces. You get passed over for promotions, your business fails. All of these things are a result of following that slippery slope of dissonance and not improving yourself as an individual. So identifying your ideal self, who do you want to be? That's going to be the magnet that's going to pull you towards progression, because your mind looks to conserve energy. The number one thing I'm thinking, my mind, my subconscious, conserve energy, conserve energy. Building new habits, new behaviors requires effort and energy. And your brain's going to be like, no, 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 no. I don't want to do that. We already have our way, Kent. We already do it like this. It's easier. You don't have to think about it. I conserve energy. Boom. But the thing is that way has gotten me to where I'm at currently. And if I want to change where I'm at to where I want to go, I have to change how I get there and the thought patterns that lead me to that. So the first step in changing those thought patterns is identifying who it is we want to be. The second step is understanding and creating a firm grasp of your real self. There's going to be a gap between your ideal self and your real self. So you need to understand where your ideal self overlaps with your real self and where it doesn't. Where is those gaps? And the only way to do that is, you're going to need a little help. You're going to need help from somebody other than yourself, because a lot of these gaps are things that we are just not aware of. So you're going to need to put your ego aside. You're going to need to find somebody you can trust completely to give you good feedback, and you're going to need to ask them what they think your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Repeat the process. If you can find 2 or 3 people to help you identify your real self, and you're okay with the feedback and you don't get defensive and you don't feel like they're attacking you, but you actually think, okay, this person's doing it because they love me, then you can identify your real self. Once you know where you want to go, where you are, so your ideal self, where you want to go, where you are with your real self. Then you can do the third step, which is create a learning agenda. Now, this learning agenda is going to reflect your core values, what you want to become. So as a leader, if I want to become more emotionally intelligent, I want to increase my EQ, then I'm going to read books about EQ. I'm going to study those books. I'm going to look for people around me that can give me feedback, because anybody who reads and studies EQ understands that you cannot do it alone. It isn't a solo journey. It's something that requires people to help you so that you can eliminate those gaps, because we do have scotomas of our personalities. There are, things that we do that we don't realize we're doing. So we need people to help us. And so we develop that learning agenda. And once that learning agenda is in place, that brings us to the fourth step, experimenting and practicing new habits. So we need to create new habits. We need to create new ways of thinking so that replace the old ways, so that we can continue to grow. So again, your learning agenda is going to show you how to gather the information, create the information, and then putting it into practice is the next step. Developing new habits, figuring out ways to track how you're putting these habits into place, reinforcing these new good habits, and then don't beat yourself up when the old habits arise, because it will happen. Ultimately, you're fighting against multiple years of programming in your head, one neuron firing to another, and it's like a riverbed. The more they fire, the deeper the fissure. So the harder the habit is that you're trying to replace, the deeper the fissure is. So you're creating new neurological connections. You're actually increasing the neuroplasticity of your brain by developing new habits. So after we've experimented with our new habits and we're trying to augment our strengths and make our weaknesses less of stumbling blocks, the last step is fairly simple. It's just building and maintaining resonant relationships with people around us. And that means we have to be looking to give, we have to be looking to share, we have to be looking to show compassion towards others. We have to want to help them in a healthy way. It's not telling people what they should or ought to do. Sometimes it's just listening and not saying anything. That can build resonant relationships. So with those 5 areas, 5 steps, you can create a plan of personal development. And then from there, you're able to start becoming a better leader. Then we can talk about emotional intelligence competencies that have to do with leadership. But it cannot happen until you first are intentional about change, intentional about personal development. Work on yourself first. Go over identifying your ideal self. Find out what your real self is. Create a learning agenda. Be intentional about making time for your learning agenda. People are busy. People get caught up in routines and habits. That's the easiest thing for our minds to create a sense of certainty, is a routine and a habit. So anytime we're replacing something, your mind's like, oh, no, certainty. We want certainty. We want to know what we can expect. We want comfort. There's no growth that happens in the comfort zone. So help your mind, reassure yourself, be intentional. Look at your schedule and think, what can I replace? What isn't leading me towards my ideal self? What sacrifices do I have to make to be the type of leader that I need to be? I'm working daily. It's hard. I know it's hard. It's difficult. It's something that is probably going to be the most difficult thing you can do. However, it's definitely going to be the most rewarding thing you could do. Being a leader, being a transformational leader, helping people fulfill their ultimate potential, there's nothing more fulfilling in this world. And so I invite everyone who watches this to take a second, figure out a way to become a transformational leader. Figure out a way to develop as a person and as an individual, and you'll start reaping benefits that you never knew you could. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.